Ladies and gentlemen, success isn't just about what you do. It's also about what you don't do. Every day, we're watched. By friends, by strangers, by opportunities that we don't even see coming. And in those moments, what we choose not to do can define our reputation, our influence, and even our future. Today, I'm not here to tell you how to get rich quick or how to fake success. I'm here to talk about real success, the kind that's built on character, discipline, and self-awareness. Because truly successful people know this secret. How you carry yourself in public speaks louder than any resume ever could. So let's dive into it. The 9 powerful things you should never do in public if you're serious about becoming your best, most successful self. Let's begin. We all go through hard times. Every single person walking past you right now is carrying something you can't see. Stress, failure, regret, doubt. It's part of being human. But the way you choose to carry your pain in public says more about your future than the pain itself. One of the defining traits of successful people is that they refuse to wear their struggles like a badge of identity, especially in front of others. That's not about being fake. It's about being intentional. When you complain about your life in public, you may be getting a moment of sympathy, but you're also training yourself to stay stuck. Think about this. When someone constantly complains, what does that tell you? That they've given up responsibility, that they've surrendered control, that their energy is focused on the problem, not the solution. Complaining is a passive act. It requires no effort, no courage, no action. It's easier to talk about how bad things are than it is to change them. But successful people don't waste their public voice on complaints. They might struggle, of course they do, but they understand that complaining changes nothing except how others perceive them. When you're in public, you're not just living your life, you're broadcasting it. People see you, hear you, and form opinions about you. And whether it's fair or not, your attitude shapes your personal brand. Complaining might feel like venting, but it can easily come off as bitterness, negativity, or even emotional instability. You could be a genius with 1,000 talents, but if you're always seen as the person who complains, doubts, or blames, you've already lost half the battle before it even began. Success demands a mindset shift. And that starts with realizing that the world doesn't owe you empathy. You might be going through the worst moment of your life, and the truth is, most people don't care. Not because they're cruel, but because they're dealing with their own storms. In public, energy matters. Your vibe speaks before your words do. And the more you complain, the more you train your brain to find more things to complain about. It's a feedback loop that destroys ambition. Some people think that being real means airing out all their emotions. But there's a difference between honesty and helplessness. You can be honest about your struggles without dragging everyone into your emotional mud. You can be real without being raw in the wrong places. Maturity is learning to process your emotions in private, not parade them in public. If you need to vent, do it in a journal or with a trusted friend behind closed doors. Not in the break room, not on social media, and not in environments where your professionalism or leadership is being evaluated. People are drawn to strength. That doesn't mean you need to be cold or fake. It means you need to show that you can handle pressure without falling apart. The quiet confidence of someone who's battling silently, who's working through problems without complaining, is magnetic. Leaders get promoted not because they never struggle, but because they can carry burdens without broadcasting them. Success doesn't require perfection. It requires self-control. Every time you complain, you give away your power. You're saying, I'm not in control, something else is. Whether it's your job, your partner, your boss, your schedule, your past, complaining puts the responsibility on something outside of you. But successful people take ownership, even when things are unfair, even when they didn't cause the problem. Ownership says, this may not be my fault, but it is my responsibility. And you cannot complain and take responsibility at the same time. One cancels out the other. There's also a subtle danger in public complaining that most people don't realize. It creates mental habits. The more you speak negativity, the more your brain looks for it. Neuroscience backs this up. Repeated thoughts strengthen neural pathways. So if you constantly vocalize what's wrong, your mind will filter the world through that lens. You could be walking through opportunities and not even notice them because your focus is locked on everything that's not working. Complaining is not just a social mistake. It's a mental sabotage. And there's another cost to your reputation. People will start to avoid you, not because they're bad people, but because energy is contagious. If every time you open your mouth, it's about how tired you are, how unfair life is, how no one supports you, eventually people tune out, or worse, they label you as a victim. And once people see you that way, they stop offering opportunities. They stop inviting you to rooms where decisions are made. They assume you're not ready, that you can't handle pressure, that you'll bring the energy of complaint into environments that require clarity and solutions. And that's a loss you don't even see coming. The world doesn't reward victims. It rewards problem solvers. You don't have to be superhuman. You don't have to act like everything's fine when it's not. But you do have to learn when and where to process your emotions. Successful people vent vertically to coaches, mentors, therapists, or people who are solution-minded. They don't dump their emotional mess on social media, coworkers, or strangers. There's a time and place for everything, and mastering that balance is a part of emotional intelligence. In public, your words are seeds. What you plant, you grow. Complain too much, and you grow resentment, pity, and stagnation. Speak hope even in hard times, and you grow resilience, trust, and influence. People remember how you made them feel. If your presence consistently brings a storm cloud, they'll eventually walk away. But if you can bring calm even when your own life feels chaotic, you'll earn the kind of respect that opens doors. One of the most underrated strengths is the ability to suffer in silence while still showing up with purpose. That doesn't mean hiding your truth. It means honoring your process. Some of the most powerful moments of growth happen in the shadows, not on stage. Complaining often interrupts that process because it seeks external validation before internal resolution. You're asking for comfort when you really need clarity, and clarity only comes when you quiet the noise, especially the noise of your own voice saying, "This isn't fair." Every successful person has had moments where they wanted to scream, give up, or tell the whole world how hard it is. But they chose something better. They chose silence, focus, and persistence. They journaled instead of posting. They exercised instead of ranting. They built instead of blamed. And in doing so, they earned something much more valuable than temporary sympathy. They earned mastery over themselves. When you stop complaining publicly, you start conserving your energy. You realize that talking about your problems doesn't fix them. Action does. And action requires energy. Complaining drains that energy. It makes you feel like you're doing something when you're really just circling the same emotion over and over again. The most powerful decision you can make is to rise above the noise and say, "I'll deal with this, but I won't let it define me." You also never know who's listening. That stranger sitting beside you could be a potential client, investor, or decision maker. And all it takes is one poorly timed complaint to make them second guess your maturity, your mindset, or your leadership. The world is smaller than you think. People talk. Reputations travel fast. If you're known as the person who complains, you limit how far your name can go before your feet get there. There's another truth worth facing. Many people complain as a form of connection. Misery loves company, so they bond with others over mutual dissatisfaction. But this kind of connection is shallow. It creates toxic alliances that feed negativity. If the only thing holding a relationship together is shared complaints, it's not a real relationship. It's a trap. Successful people are careful about the energy they connect with. They don't build their identity around what's going wrong. They connect over goals, solutions, dreams, growth, not drama. And yet, society has normalized complaining as a form of small talk. How are you? Oog. Busy. Tired. Stressed. We default to negativity without even thinking. But if you want to be successful, you have to break that habit. You have to be intentional with your words. You have to train yourself to find something good, something strong, even in the middle of chaos. That doesn't mean you're blind to reality. It means you're choosing to lead your reality, not be led by it. Most people follow their feelings. Successful people lead them. And it starts by choosing what you say out loud. You won't always get it right. There will be days when the frustration slips out. That's okay. But let it be the exception, not the habit. Learn to catch yourself. Notice when the complaint is about to come out and stop it. Replace it with a question. What's the next best thing I can do? That mindset shift is what separates those who wish for success from those who walk in it. Success is a powerful thing. It represents effort, discipline, risk, sacrifice, and growth. But the moment success becomes something you feel the need to announce loudly, repeatedly, and unnecessarily, it starts losing its true value. One of the quiet trademarks of truly successful people is that they rarely, if ever, brag about their success in public. Not because they aren't proud of it, but because they understand that real power doesn't need to be declared. It's felt. There's a subtle difference between celebrating your achievements and bragging about them. Celebrating is personal. It's about gratitude, fulfillment, and honoring the journey. Bragging is external. It's about validation, comparison, and ego. And in public, the moment you start leading with your accomplishments instead of your character, people stop listening to who you are and start judging what you're trying to prove bragging creates distance. It disconnects you from others because it sends a message, intentional or not, that you believe you're above them. Instead of inspiring people, it alienates them. You might think you're motivating someone by sharing your wins, but if the energy behind your words is self-glorification rather than shared growth, it repels more than it attracts. People can sense the difference between confidence and arrogance. Bragging is what happens when confidence becomes insecure. Success should speak for itself. When you walk into a room, your energy, your work ethic, your discipline, and your results will do the talking if you let them. But if you always have to tell people how great you are, what you've done, how far you've come, then somewhere deep down, you're trying to convince yourself as much as you're trying to convince others. The strongest people in the world are often the quietest. They don't need to prove anything. Their presence is proof enough. Bragging also comes from a scarcity mindset. The fear that if you don't constantly show your success, people won't know your worth. But truly successful individuals operate from abundance. They know their value is not defined by how loudly they proclaim it. They understand that success is a tool, not a trophy. It's not something you hold up so everyone can admire it. It's something you use to lift others, solve problems, and push further in public. When you constantly brag, it creates a false sense of identity. You begin attaching your worth to achievements, titles, money, or status. And that's dangerous, because all those things are temporary. Circumstances change, markets shift, awards fade. But who you are when no one is clapping, that's what lasts. If your self-worth is tied to applause, you'll always be performing, always chasing attention, always terrified of being overlooked. But if your worth is tied to your principles, your discipline, and your values, you become untouchable. There's also a practical side to this. When you brag too much, people stop trusting you. They assume you're exaggerating. They question your motives. You might think you're building your brand, but in reality, you could be damaging your credibility. The more you feel the need to say, "Look what I've done," the less people believe it's real. In contrast, when your results speak quietly and consistently over time, people respect you more because they came to that conclusion on their own, not because you forced it on them. Bragging also blocks learning. When you're always the one talking about how much you know, you miss opportunities to grow. You walk into a room assuming you're the smartest, most successful person there, and so you stop listening. But growth requires humility. Even the most accomplished people in the world know they have more to learn. When you brag, you're signaling that you've arrived. And that mindset closes doors. A teachable spirit opens them. Another hidden cost of bragging is the resentment it breeds. People naturally root for the underdog, not the oversharer. When you carry yourself with humility, people want to help you win. They cheer for you, support you, and celebrate your milestones. But when you come off as constantly self-congratulatory, people tune out, or worse, start rooting for your downfall. Not because they're jealous, but because no one enjoys being around someone who constantly needs to be the center of attention. Think about the most influential people you've ever met. Were they loud about their wins? Or were they grounded, composed, and focused on the mission instead of the medal? Real leaders don't need to be loud. Their impact echoes. Their actions ripple. Their legacy speaks louder than any speech. And that's the mindset you must adopt if you want your success to be sustainable. Loud success fades fast. Quiet success builds empires. Bragging also traps you in a cycle of comparison. Once you start measuring your worth by how much more you've done than someone else, you're no longer focused on purpose. You're focused on outperforming. That might give you a temporary boost, but it's a hollow game. There will always be someone with more money, more fame, more recognition. If your success is built on being better than, then you'll never be at peace. True success is about being better than who you were yesterday, not better than the person standing next to you. When you stop bragging, you free yourself. You no longer have to carry the pressure of appearing successful. You no longer have to curate your life for approval. You can focus on the work itself. You can focus on progress, not just perception. And that shift is powerful. It gives you peace. It gives you purpose. It allows you to operate from a place of authenticity rather than performance. People admire humility more than they admire hype. When someone successful carries themselves with humility, it inspires respect. It gives others permission to believe that they too can win and still be grounded. That's the kind of influence that lasts. That's the kind of leadership that multiplies. Anyone can brag. Not everyone can build quietly, grow consistently, and lead humbly. And let's not confuse silence with weakness. Not bragging doesn't mean hiding your accomplishments. It means allowing others to discover them through experience, not exaggeration. It means letting your work open doors, not your words. It means trusting that value is recognized by those who matter, and those who don't are irrelevant to your path. Some of the most powerful moves in life are made in silence. Some of the greatest empires were built behind the scenes. Bragging is often noise that distracts you from the real mission. It drains energy, it feeds the ego, and the ego, left unchecked, will sabotage your future. It will make you believe you've arrived when you've only just begun. It will make you talk more than you listen. It will make you defend your image instead of developing your skill. Success is not about how many people know your name. It's about how well you know yourself. It's about the value you bring to others, not the praise you receive for it. Bragging is surface-level success, the kind that depends on being seen. But real success, the kind that endures storms, setbacks, and seasons, is rooted, deep, quiet, solid. It's not shaken by silence, because it was never dependent on noise. Bragging is also a symptom of insecurity. When you don't feel seen, when you doubt your worth, you may feel the need to overcompensate by constantly broadcasting your success. But external noise will never fix internal silence. The validation you seek from others must first come from within. When you know who you are, you don't need to announce what you've done. When you're confident in your journey, you don't need to justify your destination. This doesn't mean you should never share your achievements. There's a time and place for everything. But the intention behind it matters. Are you sharing to uplift others or to elevate yourself? Are you using your story as a spotlight or as a bridge? The difference is subtle, but it changes everything. If your success can't inspire without making someone else feel small, it's not being shared the right way. You don't need to hide your excellence. Just don't wear it like a costume. Let it be a part of you, not your entire identity. Let it be the fruit of your labor, not your only conversation. Let others discover your greatness over time, not be forced to swallow it in a moment. Because what people discover on their own, they remember. What is pushed on them, they often forget. When you lead with humility, you gain something that bragging can never give you: quiet influence. The kind that spreads naturally. The kind that builds real trust. The kind that earns respect, not demands attention. And that's the kind of success that not only lasts, it multiplies.